welcome you to the celebration of the unveiling of the Centennial Cornerstone Time Capsule and Phenomenal Men of 2009. We are especially pleased to mark a new history today by integrating the past into the present and the future.
People are lifted one by one until our healing is over and done. Lifted along with our 44th president, a visionary man, a man who has come to remind a nation and to remind its people, yes, we can.
Please tell me now, what will it take?
We have tagged ourselves as the cornerstone of the community for the next 100 years.
Since our opening in March of 2000, the Thurgood Marshall Center has striven to serve as a beacon for social and economic justice.
I hope that his name will inspire everyone who enters this meaningful building to continue Thurgood's legacy in his quest for equal rights and equal justice for all.
See that this building has been preserved for 21st century purposes, and that is to open the door to nonprofits who are reaching out to others so that they may have an opportunity to receive the services.
And declares this day, February 7, 2009, let me see if I can get through this, as the Thurgood Marshall Center for Service and Heritage Cornerstone Time Capsule Celebration Recognition Day in the District of Columbia.
To some phenomenal men. That's a great title. Phenomenal men. Men who have done much in their lifetime to make many contributions to our community.
My own life has been so deeply influenced by my experience with caring adults like those who the 12th Street Y and now the Thurgood Marshall Center attract to do their work. And I'm simply overwhelmed by this moment as we begin the Barack Obama era in world history. And as I look forward to the next 100 years, as cheered by 80% of the people on this planet, the stone which builders rejected has become the chief corner of a new world. I can't tell you how pleased I'm to be associated with my fellow honorees here, all of whom labored in the vineyard and seldom tasted the wine of our appreciation for the sacrifices that they gave, the sacrifices that Joe Coleman reminded us of, as I thank God for a mother who sent me from 9th and Westminster Street through the alley over here to be a Cub Scout, and then to be a Boy Scout, and then to learn how to swim down there, and to learn that basketball was for big men. And I just want to thank you for the memories that you've summoned in my mind by bringing me to this place at this moment in time when I know what Martin saw from the mountaintop is on the threshold of becoming a living reality for the people of the world. Thank you.
Planning for the second Poor People's Campaign. What a fun right now. Little known story. We were up there planning, talking about how we could mobilize the community and getting ready to welcome Dr. King back to Washington. We got the news that Dr. King had been assassinated. Walter Fountroy made some calls to Memphis to affirm that. And we cried, and sort of held each other's hand about it, prayed. But we also continued to rededicate ourselves to the struggle. And I said that this is an awful corner up here. You know, U Street used to be the mecca of the black community. And it just fallen into disrepair. And that whoever got into power first would do something about that corner. Thus, the Reeve Center. Thus, the Reeve Center.
Well, William Howard Taft came to the Howard Theater and met with the YMCA leaders of that particular period. And he told them, he said, look, I've got $25,000 for you, but you're going to have to raise an additional $15,000. Within 30 days, they raised that money. But Mr. Taft, when he met with the leaders, said something that I think you ought to hear, because it's a short statement, but it tells you how far we've come. He said, and he was talking about first Rosenwald and the nice gift, but then he made a statement. He said, there are white YMCAs and colored YMCAs. It is a club. You are more comfortable to have your club limited to your own race, as perhaps young white men are more comfortable having it limited to their race. But it is nevertheless all in the broad task of building character. Isn't that an amazing statement? 100 years later, I only have to tell you that there is a man who was selected based on his character to be the 44th President of the United States. That's how far we've come. That's how far we've come. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share those remarks with you.
As a young boy in Philadelphia, I saw a black woman being assaulted by the police. And that inspired me to pursue my own career. But what would it take for people not to have to worry about whether it was a police officer driving behind them and to stop them or to illegally and wrongfully arrest them? And so the Thurgood Marshalls and Charlie Houstons and Oliver Hills, those people traveled at a time that we don't know, understanding the parameters of the law, and that the law is a framework for all the rights and privileges that we enjoy today. And so against that backdrop, I want to say to those warriors, some who have been named and some who are unnamed, that I love you 1,000 times.
The story of this building closing in 1982 is well known, is a part of history. And the community came to me and said, we can't lose this building. There's so much history of African-American people, black people tied to this building. We've got to keep it. And I believe that. And so we were able to save that building. And it was a hell of a struggle, Tom. Tom Hargrave and I, we were battling, Mr. Mayor, Barry, and it seemed like it was hopeless that the building was gone. But there was a wonderful guy named Kent Cushenberry, who some of you know, and David Eden brought us together. And we were finally able to come up with an agreement to keep the building, Tommy. And the people who signed the agreement to allow us to keep the building in the community was Tom Hargrave, Ibrahim Mumin, and Jeff Cohen, who's not here today. And even though it wasn't the intent, someone came to me later on and talked about the parable, the symbolism. You had a Christian executive director of the YMCA, a Jewish developer in Jeff Cohen, and a Muslim activist who brought it together. That's the parable that I think is talking about. And one other thing I want to say as we go forward, what made me feel comfortable with the grassroots movement is that all of us were excited November the 4th, I think it was, when Barack Obama became the new president. But what I've been saying to my friends all over is that we can't just be operating at the 40,000 feet with Barack Obama. We've got to make sure that grassroots people on the ground, civic associations, ANCs, ordinary people, block clubs, continue to do things and rededicate ourselves to the principle of this nation. Thank you.
Let's give our 2009 phenomenal men a big round of applause, all of them.